everybody. This is Gregory with how I lost over 100 pounds and I've kept it up for 30 plus years, where there should be no hesitation in your weight loss and maintenance. Today we're going to talk about and make the proclamation that we must end the intergenerational obesity. Now, before we begin, if you need help with weight loss, contact me through the Clarity FM link found here in the episode notes. Also check out my books, my recipes over at naturopathicearth.com, my podcast, The Awakened Man, and if you appreciate my content, there is a link for PayPal, and all these links are in the episode notes. All right, so I'm not going to get hit by a car. I'm on an Esplanade here, so you don't have to worry about that. We need to end the intergenerational obesity, and I don't think I really need to explain this and why this is, but it's certainly relatable to some of you, not all of you. I think of my father. They used to call him the albondiga, which in Spanish means the meatball. The picture that I have over at Confessions of an Obese Child is the only picture that I have access to of me being fat, the one with the red shirt and my parents on either side. And that's the only reason I use that picture, because I really don't have any other demonstrable proof that I used to be overweight, because, when you're fat, you don't like a lot of pictures taken of you. But my father was trim when he was younger, and I think, he did drink alcohol, and I think when he got into his 40s and 50s, and this is in the 70s and 80s, when men weren't really working out, he did start to gain weight. But in general, in my family, there wasn't a lot of obesity. My two older brothers were not obese, and they're not obese right now. But you look, and maybe this is the case in your family, that your mom or your dad were fat. Your aunts were fat. I think of that Eddie Murphy movie. I can't remember which everybody's, the Clumps maybe? I don't remember, but where everybody's fat. And you might have had that. And so it's not surprising that you became overweight because we model the behavior of people in our life. So if people in our life are overweight and or have poor eating habits, it's not going to be surprising that you're going to become overweight too. It's not always the case, but you're more likely because your parents are fat. And why are they fat? Because they're numbing their pain with food, and you see them eating an inordinate amount of food. And so just by the process of osmosis, you're more likely to eat that way too. And then let's fast forward 20 years. Let's say you do have kids and you're still having disordered eating and you're gulping down a bunch of food. Your kids are going to emulate that too, because they will think of a very young age, 4 or 5. Well, mommy and daddy are big, so there's nothing wrong with being big. And if they don't see you trying to lose weight, and then you compound that by you just eating tons of food and not taking care of yourself, well, of course, they're going to think that it's okay on some tacit, subconscious level. Also, you look at maybe the foods that are in your house. If your parents were getting fat by eating ding-dongs and Twinkies, there's probably going to be a plethora of ding-dongs and Twinkies for you to eat and get fat. And same thing for you, and if you're fat and you're going to have all these foods for the kids. I mentioned this previously, I used to go to Golden Corral because my ex-wife family liked to go to Golden Corral. And that place is just a trough for fat people. Not everybody there, of course, is fat. But I couldn't go there anymore because I would get so infuriated. And no offense if you were one of these people, okay? I mean this in total charity. You'd see these overweight parents go into the trough 3, 4, 5 times, and all their kids were fat too. And I was just like, you're shortening the life expectancy of your children. You're shortening the life expectancy of your children because you're allowing them to eat that way. And then you could be, well, they're Gregory, they're teenagers, I can't stop them. Yeah, but you know what? You were probably allowing them to eat that way when they were 4, 5, 6. And now you're dealing with a rebellious teenager. It's going to be much harder. But overweight kids are overweight because the parents allow it and the parents spoil them. I think of Willy Wonka. And I think of, not Augustus Gloop, who's the gluttonous kid, but the one about Veruca, the song about Veruca, why kids are spoiled, whose fault it is, and it says the mother and the father. And it's true. It's true. Kids who are regular weighted, typically, and I'm not going to say always, but at least the parents are regulating them to a certain extent. Whereas anytime you have an obese kid, it's the parents not putting them in line enough. I think of my own parents. Oh, Gregory's eating more. Oh, he's breaking into the snack room, the snack cabinet. Go to that episode. Oh, he's buying 3 large pizzas and hiding the cartons behind the dryer. Oh, Gregory. Oh, they would never get mad. They never punished me. They never spanked me. And at a young age, I needed that redirection. I really did. And I didn't get it. And so I just kept eating and finding ways to eat. So look, I don't think any of you should be offended by this video, because if you love your kids and you have a modicum of affection for your children, you don't want them to get fat. If you were a fat kid, you definitely don't want the horrors of what happened to you happen to your kids. So let's end the intergenerational obesity. We have to end it. So depending on where you're at, if you have kids, if you want to have kids, if you're going to have kids, but you still have disordered eating, I would tell you to get ordered eating. We have episodes on how I did it here. Or hide it. I mean, until you can get it. Fake it till you make it. Hide your disordered eating for your children so they don't develop it too. And if you notice that they do have that eating, like emotional eating, I talk about it with my episode. I think it's Reflections 22 when I talk about my stocky son. I think you need to address it very early in a way that's not hurtful to them, but also in a way, and it's a very fine line. I'll tell you, it's a very fine line, but it needs to be addressed, because the worst thing is you blink and now your child is 250 pounds. And at that point, the weight loss is going to be really, really hard. So yes, your parents might have been fat. Yes, they might have allowed you to get fat, but don't allow it to continue. Because if your kids end up fat, then they're probably going to end up having kids who are fat too. And we know there's studies that show this. When moms are obese when they're pregnant, they have a better chance of getting gestational diabetes, but they also have a higher rate of their kids ending up obese too. So if any of you women who are watching this, or any men who have obese wives, this is important. So again, let's end the intergenerational obesity, and also let's end the victimization. And I've talked about this. I think in the episode, Stop the Negativist Thinking. It's really easy, and I used to do this when I was younger too. Blame the parents. I got fat because of you. I got fat because you neglected me, because you're an alcoholic and I didn't get any nurturing. And it's true. I mean, a lot of that could be true, but ultimately that's still a victim mentality. And whatever remnants and vestiges we have of disordered eating, obese, or after you've lost your weight, ultimately we have to be accountable and culpable for what we put in our mouth, because we're all dealt different decks of cards. It's a question of what we do with it, right? How you make the lemonade out of the lemons. So ultimately at this point in your life, you got to be accountable and just try to do the best you can and fix the messes that our parents did, and don't pass it on. Guys, post in the comments. I'd like to hear from you. Hit the notification, subscribe, and share button. Until next time, take care. God bless and pray.